The topic of getting rich quick has plagued the internet ever since the very beginning, and it's sucked a lot of money out of overly hopeful people who are living on a wing and a prayer. And while I technically went from broke to at least what I would consider rich in under 6 months, believe me when I say it took a lot longer to lay the foundation, and that's the real message I want to get across in this video. Now, at the same time, there is things you can do to shortcut that path, and that's what I'm going to share with you today. I was making about $2,000 a month. Fast forward 6 months, I was making over $50,000 a month. I had 6 figures in the bank, my dream car, and life looked very different. So again, there's things that can happen very quickly, but you have to lay the foundation. Now, I have nothing to sell you in this video, and you're going to notice a lot of cuts throughout this entire video. The reason is I'm looking at my notes. I took a lot of time to prepare for this video and script out a lot of bullet points. The reason is it's a very important video to me, and it's something that I wish I had access to when I was first starting. So I want to make sure I get my message across and hit on all the points I wanted to talk about. So if you could just do me a quick favor and tap the like button and subscribe to the channel, it would mean the world to me. Now, what I actually do for a living is completely irrelevant to this conversation. Don't worry, I'm still going to talk about that so you can at least see it, but the things that I'm going to share with you can apply to any industry, and that's the great part. It's very versatile. So a quick backstory for you. I made my first $200,000 when I was 17 years old. I made my first $1 million in gross revenue for my business, and it was a high margin business when I was 18. My profit on that was about $600,000. Since then, my business has continued to grow. So it was really 18 where I made the first $1 million, right? There's taxes, there's expenses, and there's personal expenses. And it was 19 when I officially became a millionaire. It's a weird label to put on, but just financially speaking, those are the statistics. I'm 22 now. My business continues to grow. I own a $10 million real estate portfolio. And if you want to watch my full video kind of explaining the finances along the way, I'll leave that video linked below. However, let's dive back into exactly how I started. The first income stream I had, which wasn't actually a business, was mowing lawns for my neighbors. The first real income stream that I consider something cool and unique was what's called affiliate marketing. I was selling other people's products through social media, making about $1,000 to $2,000 a month. The cool thing is I was selling a software, and it was $50 a month. I'd get $25 for every sale. So it was a monthly payment that I was getting. And when I tried to start my first e-commerce store, I completely stopped selling as an affiliate, but I still had money coming in. And looking back, without that consistent income, I definitely would have failed to get the e-commerce business off the ground. The reason for that, it took a lot more time and definitely a lot more money than I thought. That first business was drop shipping. I was selling these phone cases with a little husky dog on the back of them. Then that proceeded into a full dog brand that did about $1 million in sales. Then I started other stores. Since then, I've had a large orthopedic brand that's done $15 million in sales, selling ankle braces and knee braces. We've done extremely well with jewelry, with custom clothing, different custom products where people could, put their name on the jewelry and things of that nature, put their picture inside of it. We've done a lot of products like that, and I've sold over $25 million worth of products online. I've directly helped other people do another $100 million in sales. That's through our course, through our advertising agency, as well as directly helping people through consulting. We work with a lot of brands that make a ton of money. So that's the quick summary, but I originally scaled that dog store to the point where it was bringing in about $30,000 to $50,000 a month. And the profit margin at the time, just running Facebook ads, was about 35%. So I was making 10, eventually 15, maybe in one big month, $20,000 in profit. And so I made about $110,000 in profit from that store as I was 17 years old. The rest of the money that I made out of the $200,000 in total, a little bit was from the affiliate marketing, maybe $15,000 to $20,000 that year. Then I started my YouTube channel showing for free what I was doing with e-commerce. Business owners started reaching out to me. I started charging for consulting. That built up some added income. Eventually we launched our course, but that was in a later year. At 18, I did a little over $500,000 in e-commerce sales. Again, this was all drop shipping, still no inventory, only running Facebook ads and a little bit of Instagram influencer marketing. That was $200,000 in profit, a little bit more than a double from the year before. So that business was growing. At the same time, I'd really started ramping up the YouTube. There wasn't many people in the space giving great information on e-commerce, and I was definitely leading the charge for that. So people were reaching out for consulting. Eventually we made a course because it was highly requested, and that business also brought in over $500,000, and it was a high margin business that year. So I ended up making an extra $500,000 in revenue, but the profit on that was extremely high. So that's how I netted about $600,000. The education company made probably $500,000 and had $100 in expenses. So I made $200 in profit from the e-commerce and about $400 in profit from the personal brand. So that was a $600,000 year. That's net bottom line. That's what I paid taxes on. And I feel like it's noteworthy to mention that through that year at 18 years old, I spent about $100,000 in personal expenses. That also involved bringing a videographer along while I was traveling. I do count that as a personal expense, even though it's a business expense. Nonetheless, that's about what I spent in everything with all the activities combined. And I did all of that while spending multiple months overseas, hitting every country I'd basically ever wanted to go to and doing a lot of activities while still managing to work 16 hours a day. Now, there's two main things that stick out when I think about what I learned on my way to making the first $1 million. And the first is you have to have absolute self-confidence, but it's definitely going to take longer than you expect. expected. And that timeline is what really surprised me. It actually took longer than I expected to get to where I want to go. However, if you are in the right vehicle, the right business, the right opportunity, it's very scalable. Like for me, e-commerce or personal branding, where reaching 100 people versus 100,000 people doesn't really have a lot of effort difference. It's just the strategy of marketing. Well, for me, it was extremely scalable. And so I figured out that it might be very slow, but if you're in the right thing, it can take off like a rocket ship. And that's where the explosive growth happens. So you just have to do the right thing for a long enough period of time. And this means nobody gets rich in 6 months. Financially, they can go from broke to rich in 6 months, but the foundation that they are laying takes longer. Again, that is the clear message I want to put out in this video. And number 2 is you definitely get accustomed to a new level of income after about 6 months of consistency. It's not that you have to spend all the money. I didn't have a very extravagant lifestyle. I spent a single-digit percentage of the money that I was making, but at the same time, it just starts to feel normal. And then if you drop below that, you're actually going to probably feel bad about yourself or a little bit sad or depressed or whatever, which is a very interesting and weird thing. Tough to dissociate those emotions. Now, again, this part of the video is all about you. So here's what I recommend to new business owners or people who are not yet at least at that $1 million a year level. Number 1, marketing is everything. I'm about to give you the simple framework that will drive you to the first $1 million. It's the only thing you have to focus on. It's what I've done in every single business. The only thing that matters is marketing the product or service you have. Don't try to do both of those things. Either sell a product or sell a service. I will give you an example. Advertising agency. I've done a couple $1 million in revenue for my company, high margin, through our advertising agency. We take a percentage of sales that our clients get that we generate for them through all the marketing efforts, right? That's a service. We are actively doing something for them on a daily basis. The second side of it would be a product. For an example, our e-commerce course. You can find a link down below. We have a TikTok ad program. It goes through the entire, business model and framework for e-commerce and focuses on TikTok marketing, which is the main thing that we do nowadays, right? So that is a product because we have no input. And while I personally do coaching a couple times a month inside of our private group, it's a product. It's not a service. Now, I do want to point out that it has to be a quality product or service if you want to get to $1 million. It's a little bit difficult to sling enough stuff to get to $1 million. If people don't like it, they're not willing to come back or tell their friends. You can still get enough sales on the front end through marketing to make the $1 million, but you're going to have word of mouth and referrals working against you, which is definitely not a great thing. For an example, some people have tried to say that our e-commerce program is a scam. And what's interesting, with a product that's digital, by the way, you get instantaneous delivery. So somebody can see, again, you can see all this by clicking the link down below somewhere. You get to see before you buy exactly what you're getting. And then as soon as you buy, you get it. So it's interesting when people try to complain or say it's a scam because our program is way under $1,000 and what you're getting is just disproportionate value. And we did that on purpose. We don't charge $10,000. The reason for that, it's a front end product for us and we just out deliver in terms of the value compared to the price they're paying. So that value gap is absolutely massive. That's helped us drive towards $1 million with that specific product. And just so you know, pretty much everybody I've had complain about any products or service we have are people who would have complained anyways, regardless of if it was $1 or $10,000. So just a fun side note for you. Now, as you start to get all that stuff in place, you have to focus on the money. A lot of people say, follow your passion in business or do this or that. I think that's absolutely terrible advice. You're going to need the money to grow your business. And a mistake that I made is not spending enough money or investing back into the business to remove my time from just menial tasks that could be outsourced for $15 an hour. I was doing all the accounting, the website building, the funnel building, the support emails for years. I was doing every little point of the process. I could have offloaded half of my work for like 5% of what I was making. That would have been a genius move. It took me years to realize that, hey, I should probably do that. So a very practical example for you, which is what I did, was I hired a VA, a virtual assistant, $300 a month, $500, $1,000. That's really good money for some of these people in third-party countries. Please make sure you treat them with respect, though. A lot of people don't. But I could offload a lot of work from my e-commerce companies, all the support, the fulfillment, talking to suppliers, just a lot of the back and forth that, could be outsourced. If I explain how to do it, somebody could do it just fine. For another example, I had a guy who used to make YouTube thumbnails. For a long time, I posted on YouTube every single day, and we needed a thumbnail. A thumbnail would take me maybe 20 minutes to make. I hired somebody who was better than I was for $150 a month from some third world country. I think it was from India. And that's $5 a thumbnail. And eventually I was like, no, I don't need your services anymore. It was too expensive. That's what I thought in my head. So I started spending 20 minutes a day doing this stupid task, taking my focus from other stuff that I could have outsourced for $5 a day. So it's something like you just have to keep it not as an expense, but you're buying back your time, which you can use to go make other money. Now, again, that only works when you are making money. And just to give you a frame of reference, I was doing probably $70,000 to $90,000 a month in profit on average. And I still let that guy go because I was like, hey, $150, I can just keep that for myself. Bad idea. And another thing I need to mention to everybody watching this is you should only trade time for money if it's for startup capital or it's something that's still really high leverage and you need the money. For an example, flipping burgers for $15 an hour, a little bit difficult. You might have to work the job to get the money to start your business, but if you're able to consult with a business for $200 an hour, that's still pretty scalable. You could make multi-six figures a year by doing that. So if you're able to scale that, that's great, but just understand you're always going to have a limit to your income and it eventually gets very boring and it's not that fun. I bill out at $1,500 an hour for anybody who wants consulting. That is my rate and I'm extremely selective. There's no link or website where people can buy it. They have to come to us directly. So for me, if I was to do that full time, I'd make a lot of money, but I wouldn't enjoy it. It wouldn't be fun. And I still would have a cap on my income. So again, only do that if it's something you need to get the money to start doing the other stuff that you want. Trust me, being a full-time consultant is not the vibe. Now, the last point I want to drive home in this video is the amount of time worked. I worked way too many hours for way too many years. And while I probably didn't need to do it, I think it is a common trait between people who become extremely successful and build a big business. Now, my company's not the biggest, but I think I've done okay for myself and I'm constantly learning and trying to get better every single day. So just working and not being afraid to put in that extra time, my simple logic was, well, I always have time because I can just sleep less. And so there was many weeks where I'd go only 4 or 5 hours of sleep every night for weeks or months in a row. And it wasn't healthy, but it helped me build the business and ultimately get to where I wanted to be today. So again, I have nothing to sell you in this video, but I make it anyways because I think you can do it better, faster, and way more efficiently than I did. So I hope by hearing these lessons and things that I've learned along the way, you can start to shortcut your path to financial freedom or whatever it is you want to do. There are some free resources you can check out. Like, first of all, subscribing to this channel. Second of all, if you're trying to get into e-commerce, we have a free Discord. We just chat back and forth in there all day long. Other than that, feel free to leave a comment down below if you have a question, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.